Hello and welcome to Great Deltan. Today marks 2 years since I began building the layout, so I thought I'd bring you something a bit different, and what I'm going to do today is just tell you a bit more about me, the man behind the layout, and a bit more about my history with trains. So I'll be showing you a slideshow with some pictures of old layouts, my old stock when I was 00 gauge modelling, and then something like that. I also mark with this video the reaching of 1,000 subscribers, which is more than I ever asked for with this channel, and I'm glad it's got that far, so thank you to everyone who has continued to support and follow the progress of this layout. So, for any long-term viewers of the channel, my name's Dan, you probably know that, and I live in a static home on Billing Aquadrome in Northampton. This is due to some reasons I'm not going to go into. I live here with my fiance, my 2 young children and 4 cats, which obviously can get a little bit hectic at times, but it's all good fun. So the layout, Great Deltan, is situated in the garden shed, which is obviously on the plot. The only disadvantage of living in a static home on a holiday park is that it's only open during their season. So during January we can't actually live here, so we go to relatives or parents or whatever. But enough about that. What else is there about me? My other hobbies: I'm in a band. We play covers and whatnot for weddings and functions. I enjoy doing a bit of DIY around the house, and quite enjoy walking and going up mountains. So any other railway related task I do is volunteer work every now and then at the Northampton and Lamport Heritage Railway. I'm a qualified second man. I also own a PTS certificate, so I can work on the permanent way teams. I haven't been down there in a while. Since I've had children, it's quite hard to find the time, but hopefully one day I'll get back there and continue helping out. I've been doing that since I was 15 or 16, so getting on for 10 years now. I'm 25 as it stands. I started off doing coach restoration work and then moved into locos, and then I did a bit of catering, a bit of permanent way, a bit of engineering. So I've sort of been everywhere really, but now when I'm down there, I'm just helping out with the operation of the services by being a second man, and I'm currently undergoing some driver training. The only locos I've driven is a Ruston and Hornsby shunter and a BR Class 31. So from as long as I can remember, I've always wanted to sort of play with trains. I've always had an interest in them. I started off with something like this, which is just a wooden push-along train set, as I'm sure many of us have. I don't actually remember playing with one, but there are pictures of me using one. And then as I got a little bit older, sort of 5 or 6, my parents decided to upgrade me to the Tomy Thomas the Tank Engine sets, which were just plastic locos with some plastic push-along coaches and some clipped-together track. I didn't have much of this, so I just had enough to sort of make a couple of loops. And then for my 10th birthday, my parents decided I was old enough to have something a bit more delicate and realistic, so I remember going with them to Toy Master to pick up this Flying Scotsman set by Hornby for £100 exactly. Back then, that got you a lot more. You got 4 coaches, you got 2 sidings, along with the usual track map and controller and buffers, which was good value then. I also got a steel rail carrying wagon and a level crossing, and that was the beginning of my 00 gauge days. So as that continued, I collected a bit more. I remember getting a Smoky Joe as my second train, got some more coaches, some tracks, some buildings, some figures, some cars, and then I'd set it up all on the carpet when I wanted to play with it, which obviously created its own problems with carpet fluff. And the fish plates on the track would wear down as I would continuously take the track apart and put it back together. I was too young to figure out how to sort of resolve that issue just by pushing the fish plates together with pliers, so after a while it eventually died down and I stopped playing with it so much because it would just be a bit of a faff trying to get the trains to run. So here's one of my carpet setups. I didn't take many pictures back then, but I did take one of this particular setup for some reason. So I had 3 running loops and then some Hornby buildings, the station terminus, some Scaledale bits, some stock. I had my Pendolino. I got that when Hornby first brought it out with the DCC Select controller. Turntable, some railroad wagons. There's my L&ER Flying Scotsman coaches, and it would just all sit on the carpet like that. You can tell how I sort of set up a little town scene with some roads and some walls, fences, a little garage from all the Scaledale buildings. Obviously nothing was realistic. I used a tin lid as a roundabout. But yeah, here's just some more pictures of some of my carpet setups. And then I started working at the railway when I was about 14 or 15. This picture is actually from a couple of years ago, doing some bridge works with the permanent way team. Yeah, so that's just me being useful for once. When I started secondary school, I met a good friend of mine, Luke, who was also into model trains, and his mum had a garage loft which she allowed us to set up a small loop of track up there, which was better because it was on wooden flooring and we could have it on a permanent basis, so we didn't have to take it apart so much. So that sort of re-sparked my interest in it a bit. I brought some of my stock round, and we had a good run up there with the loft, but that also inspired me to try and make something at home of my own. So that is when I decided to ask my parents if I could create this, which is my Mark 1 layout. Essentially it's just a portable baseboard with some track I had nailed on it. This was just the beginning, early stages when I just figured out a track plan. What I'd do is split it in two, keep it in the garage, and then move it inside the living room whenever I wanted to use it, where it was a bit more flat. So that's with the track on it. The baseboard joint was up here, I think, and I didn't know how to make butt joints, so I just didn't nail down the track, and it overhung in some areas. You'll see in a few pictures, but that's my basic track plan. So I just had some sidings, a station, and 3 running loops. I used some ballast, sort of scenic mat underneath it all. That's probably why I drew it all around so I can get the shape. Same over here with these sidings, rather than actual ballast. I added some roads. I think I was about 14 or 15 at this point, so hence the the workmanship isn't overly good. Got some scenery on the outskirts, some hedges and whatnot, and that is it completed. So as you can see, we've got a little town with my Scaledale buildings. Had a fair bit of stock, a nice big station. I've always liked big stations. Country park, farm at the back, little car sales area there. So that's one half of it. That was, I think, during construction of it still. You can see that there's no track here because the other half had the track over the edge. That caused a lot of problems. Obviously, number one is when I put it together, I had to line up every single fish plate. So the track actually came together well. And then the other problem was that this track, as it overhung, it got caught in a lot of things when I was transporting it in and out of the living room all the time. And that's the other half. You see how the track overhangs there. Not the best design, but I was obviously uneducated at the time and young. So that's some of the 00 gauge collection I had. Obviously my train sets at the top, some wagons, class 153, always been a favourite DMU of mine. A few extra coaches here, and some locos. And that's it all laid out on the bed. This is a video from my setup. Let me just skip it. I didn't take too many videos on it. I had an old YouTube channel at the time which I was sort of putting a few little videos on. So that's my 153 by Hornby, and then a Batman 150 on the back of that as well, in First Northwestern livery. That's my class 20, which I one day might own in N-gauge. I do quite like the class 20, but it's just not in the era that I model now. Back in the 00 gauge days, I'd just buy anything I like the look of, which obviously is probably what I should have continued doing, but I quite like modelling a certain era and region now. So that's class 20 by Hornby with some railroad EWS wagons on the back. Go to the next video. So when it worked, it was quite fun to run. I had a fair sized track really. I had 3 of them. I had some sidings, I had a station, so it was good fun to run. It was just getting it to run was the issue. This, I think, is when I tried to put a camera on a wagon, which didn't go too well. I think it was quite wobbly and the camera was quite heavy. So I just took it very slow and did like a driver's eye cam of it really. Going through the station. It stops quite a while, quite a lot, and then back to the beginning. So that's another view of it. You can see I did put a fair bit of work into it in terms of detail. Everything was removable apart from the fences. All the buildings came off, the people, they were all just on the sort of transparent plastic that you get with the Hornby figures. So I did have a fair bit of stock, and quite a few things that I have now in Engage, like my 47, Pendolino, 150s, 153s. I had a 45 there, which I don't know why, because I never liked that. I think that was Luke's actually. Another view of it, and my mum's foot. Nothing was scratched, but obviously I always just use the buildings that were readily available. But some angles didn't look too bad. I always quite like this photo, just because it looks fairly realistic, to be honest. So I think after about 5 or 6 setups in the living room, I eventually dismantled it because it just got unusable. The track was getting caught on things even when it was in storage in the garage from people walking by it. So I eventually dismantled it because like some of the rails weren't even sitting on the sleepers. They just come detached and bent, so I couldn't even use it. After that, I think I had another break from railways for a while. I didn't really do much with them. They just went into storage again until I can't remember what year it was, but Luke's mum allowed us to use the actual whole garage for a layout rather than just the loft. So we built a baseboard, and let me find it. Yes, and that is the garage layout which we had for quite a while. That was just the beginning of it. It's a very similar layout to Great Deltan actually. We had a station over here, and obviously the station's over this side on Great Deltan. And then we had a town scene up here, some industrial warehouses down here, and all of the unrealistic curves were hidden. So that was built on some chipboard and some thick hardwood, and it was good, to be honest. And obviously it's nothing like I do now. We had no dropper wires on any of the track, but we did buy some flexi track, so we used some fresh fish plates. This meant that the trains actually worked, which was nice. Although it was quite open to the elements in the garage, we didn't know how to clean the track properly. I always used to do it with a bit of paper towel and some white spirit, which just left loads of fragments of paper towel everywhere. I never thought of using abrasive rubber. So we got quite far with that. We put some buildings on it, we put some scenery. We had a fairly good run with that. It never got finished though. As we got into our late teens, other things took over, like part-time jobs and schoolwork, what we was going to do after school, and whatnot. So that never got finished, but we did complete a fair few areas of it. That's the station which never saw its completion. And then that was the nice warehouse area which we quite liked. And that was the town scene up there with this countryside area. All Scaledale buildings again. And then once my friend Luke went to university, it stopped altogether. The layout sort of just got used for storage, and eventually it got dismantled as Luke's mum needed a garage for storage again. So after that, I had a very long hiatus from model railways. Everything went back into storage. I didn't build a layout. I didn't really associate with trains in any way at all. I stopped going to the railway for quite a while as well. And then I met my fiance, and we moved in together. We went travelling, and yeah, I just didn't focus on trains at all. And then in 2018, I think my girlfriend took me to Hamburg for my birthday, and of course we had to visit Miniature Wonderland, which is one of the best things you will ever see as a modeler. I would definitely recommend going there. It is just incredible. They have an entire building as a miniature Wonderland, really. It's just epic. Definitely recommend it to anyone. They've just got full-size everything. They've got stations. They have an entire airport. Everything just looks spot on. It's just awesome. I spent 2 hours there, and that was nowhere near long enough. I could have spent 2 days there, to be honest, looking around everything. I had airports with planes that actually took off through the wall. That's what that little hatch is over there, and the runway. It was just Something else. Yes, it was just awesome. So, after that, didn't really spark much interest. It was a strange thing that did spark my interest back in railways. It was near Christmas time in 2018, I think, when we were just walking around the B&M looking for Christmas decorations, and we saw this plastic train set which goes around the bottom of a Christmas tree. I think it was only a tenner. We decided to buy it. Set it up around the Christmas tree. It was rubbish. It derailed. It uncoupled. It was just some battery operated plastic thing. Like I was going back to my childhood with the Tomy stuff. But just watching that train just sparked something in me. And I really wanted to sort of run my trains again. So I went back to my parents' house, got all of my trains out of storage and brought it back to my static, which I'm obviously moved into at this point, and set it up on the carpet. And that's what we have here. Just a couple of loops, some sidings, a station, and I just had a good running session with all my stock, and it was good fun. So I set it all up on the carpet. Not too much detail, no figures or anything. Just wanted to have a run really, to see if it was enjoyable, which it was. So I decided to build another portable baseboard to take it in and out of the shed. I never considered using the shed for a model railway at this point because I was doing 00 gauge, and what I'd be able to fit in the shed on 00 gauge just wouldn't be worth it. So I wanted to go with the portable baseboard route again to get a bit more in, as the living room was quite big. So I bought some MDF and some softwood, and then built this split in two baseboard, which was a fair size to be honest. I think it was at least 10 foot. And that's the setup of track I had. I nailed it all down. I had it so it would split a lot easier. I was going to make some butt joints. And that's it in nicely going into storage. I added some point motors with all the wiring in. I put them in some trunking to make it all nice and neat. Even added the lids. And that's about as far as I got with that, because I was thinking as I was building it, am I really going to enjoy this? I'm at an age now where I want something a bit more realistic, not so train setty. So is 2 loops of track really going to sort of satisfy what I want to achieve with a model railway nowadays? And I thought, no. Here's just a quick video of what I actually had from that layout. It's just my Class 70 by Bachmann with some wagons on the back, and the cat being very curious. So then I decided to just ditch the 00 gauge and go N gauge. I went to my local model shop to have a bit of a play with their test track, just to see if I was sort of satisfied with how it ran and the detail, and I was quite impressed really. So I put all my 00 gauge stuff on Facebook. This is all the stuff I had by the end of my 00 gauge collection. I thought it was a lot, but clearly now compared to what I have in N gauge, it wasn't really a lot at all. Some accessories there, and all of my locos. All that went on Facebook and eBay, and the money I got from all that was used to kickstart the N gauge collection. I went to my local model shop, spent about £550 on a couple of locos, some track and some wagons, and then set it up. There's all my buildings, some 00 gauge. I got all that. I think some of this might have been from a couple of visits, along with that track bundle. And then I set up this on my coffee table, which was the first ever time I'd ran N gauge on my that I owned. Just a small little oval of track from the Pecco starter set with some of the trains that I bought. I was running this with the Hornby Select at the time, and everything needed to be DCC fitted. So, got the baseboards out, I took up all the 00 gauge track, and I set to work on creating an N gauge layout. The idea was to have some long straight bit down here with a sharp turn which would be hidden, and then some nice swept curves with these bay platforms here, big station and a little branch line. And I got as far as pinning down 1 loop of track and all these straight bits. Got a couple of videos here. The idea again being that the baseboard would split in half and I would take it in and out the shed. That's my Class 150 going around the nice swept curve. Got my HST with 5 coaches. Scaring the cat, of course. And then we just have my 66 with some intermodal freight wagons on. So again, as I was building this, I started to think to myself, is this really a good idea? I'm about to have a baby, I've got 4 cats. Not only am I going to not have a lot of time to bring it in and set it up each time, but when it is in here, it's just going to get destroyed probably by things. So another decision was taken, and I tore up all of that track. I used the wood from the baseboard on these kitchen units and made Great Deltan as we know it today in the shed. So I officially started the layout, I think, on the 16th of August, and then come November time I was inspired to start my own YouTube because I've been watching a lot of tutorials. I wanted to do this layout a lot better than any other layout before. So I watched Everard Junction, New Junction, Dean Park Station, Piccadilly, Chadwick, a lot of these tutorial videos and trying to get it as best as I could. And that's what inspired me to start YouTube. And that's where we are today. I have a fully functioning large N-gauge layout which is detailed, it's got a good following. I've done things I've never thought I'd be able to do, like the OHLE, the station I'm proud of, got the Magna Rail, and so yeah, I'm just glad it's got that far. So if you're still with me, thank you for watching. This has just been an in-depth history of my time with trains and a bit more about me. Thank you again for watching. Obviously I hope we can make further progress in the future, and I will see you next time for another video. So thank you, and bye bye.